so glad you're all here to listen to our story today. My name is Jess Nelson, and I am going to read to you today a Bible story called David and the Giant Goliath. This is a story that's been adapted by Tess, and it was illustrated by Cheryl Mendenhall. The publishing company is Brendan. Once there was a shepherd named David. David was a happy young man, and he loved God very much. He wrote and sang many songs that told about God's power and his love for us. All of his sheep out in the pasture. One day, David's father had asked him to deliver some dried corn and 10 loaves of bread to his 3 older brothers. They were fighting in the army for King Saul. David left the next morning. When he got to the army camp on the mountain, he ran to see his brothers. How excited he was. Look, his sheep is following him. But the enemy's camp was across the valley. As David ran to his brothers, he saw a giant man named Goliath. Goliath was the biggest man David had ever seen. He was covered with shiny armor and carried a shield, a spear, and a huge sword. They all looked scared. David doesn't look scared, does he? David's brothers told him that every morning and every night for 40 days, Goliath had been shouting at them to send someone to fight him. Goliath shouted, "If any of you defeat me, your king's army will be the winner of the entire battle." The king's soldiers were so afraid that they ran away each time they saw Goliath. But David was not afraid. David went to the king and told him that he would fight Goliath. King Saul said, "You are too small to fight this great giant." But David did not give up. He told the king that with God's help, he had defeated a fierce lion and a hungry bear who had stolen a lamb from his flock. David was sure that God would help him fight Goliath too. King Saul believed that God would help David and insisted, "You must take my armor and sword to fight a giant such as Goliath." David tried on the armor and the sword, but it was too heavy for him. So he took only his staff and sling and went down to the river. There at the water's edge, David found 5 smooth stones and put them in his shepherd's bag. Then David walked toward Goliath. Goliath laughed when he saw the young man coming down the mountain toward him. David said, "I am not afraid. God will help me." Then he reached into his bag and pulled out 1 smooth stone. David put a stone in his sling and hurled it toward Goliath. It hit the giant directly in the forehead. The giant fell to the ground with a thud. Oh my goodness. When the enemy soldiers saw that their mighty giant had fallen, they all ran away in fear. With God's help, David had won the battle for King Saul. When you think you are too young or too small to help someone else, remember how God helped David defeat the giant. Always remember that nothing is ever impossible for God if only you let Him help you. I want to thank you again for